Hello and welcome to the End Times Revival Ministries. Thank you so much for joining us today. We continue with our series on familiarity with God. Today I want us to pick two passages and we will look at various others as the time allows. But the first is from the book of Matthew chapter 10 from verse 24 to 28. I will, however, not read the entire passage. I will read what is necessary for context purposes. You read at Matthew 10 and verse 24. The broader context here is that Jesus is commissioning the 12 apostles, including Judas Iscariot, by the way, and he talks about persecutions. And so that's the broader context. And in verse 24, Jesus says the following: "A disciple is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. It is enough for a disciple that he be like his teacher, and a servant like his master. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more will they call those of his household? Therefore do not fear them." We go down to verse 28, Jesus says the following: "And do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell." It is interesting that as you read through the New Testament, the most authoritative and consistent preacher of hell and destruction and the holiness of God was Jesus himself. The Apostle Paul, from the book of Romans onwards and in all his epistles, he focuses so much on two balances between grace, the grace of justification, and the response to it, the grace of sanctification. But Jesus focuses so much on the holiness of his Father. And in this particular instance, there are various other scriptures that as you read, you see that we are encouraged to endure persecutions as believers because there is a crown of righteousness to come. But in this particular passage, Jesus invokes a different motivation. There is a different reason why we should endure persecution, not just because of the crown of righteousness, but here Jesus says, when you are persecuted, there are two responses that you could potentially give to that situation. The first is to be afraid of the persecutor. You run away from the persecution, you abort the mission, and you preserve your life. That is a common response, and that's the ordinary natural response. But Jesus says here that I understand that you could be afraid of the persecutor, but I want you to know that you should be more afraid of he who commissioned you to go through the persecution. And therefore Jesus says, "And do not fear those who kill the body only, but cannot kill the soul, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell." So the motivation here really is fear, that we fear God, not fear in the sense of terror, but the respect and the honor. And when you weigh the balances between the fearing a God or giving an honor and glory to a God who commissions us, who is able to destroy both my body and soul that belong to him, and the fear of a man who can only touch the body and might kill the body but cannot touch the soul, it then falls on me to realize that the one fear or the one reverence, the one honor should be greater than the other. And so in this kind of equivalence that Jesus draws here, he proposes to us here, we must not be familiar with he who can kill both the body or can destroy both the body and the soul. And it's interesting here that he says that we need to fear he who is able to destroy both the soul and the body in hell. That is a place of destruction. And so we need to have the perspective of hell in our relationship with God. And every time you read about hell, it is not a place we should not be really thinking devotedly about the torment that is there, although that is part of the core characteristics of hell. But the key issue here is the holiness of God. The reason why men and women are in hell, and some will die today and others tomorrow and others next year and others next week, they will go to hell. It is because of the holiness and the righteousness of God. Hell, it is necessary because of the righteousness and the holiness of God. So if there is one who can repel our sin and He is the one who commissions us. That is the one that we must fear. And as I said last week, when you look at the account of the entire Bible, any human being who came into contact with the Holy God, they fell face down and worshipped Him, because He is not a familiar being. And so even as we serve Him, as we interact with other believers, and whatever we do, we need to realize that every single day we are in a constant threat of hell if we do not believe in Him. And by the same token, we are in the hands of a God who has the potential, the capacity, the power and the authority to destroy both the body and the soul. That God deserves our respect and honor and praise.